In 2013, something great happened. Google decided to make a budget phone with flagship specs. That phone was the Nexus 5. The next year, Google decided to make a phone with flagship features with a flagship price. That phone was the Nexus 6. Now in 2015, Google decided to take two roads. They created a budget phone called the Nexus 5 made by LG, and a more expensive flagship called the Nexus 6P made by Huawei. What's up guys, Nikhil Uppal the Google Guy here, back with another video for Tell Me Tech. Today I'll be reviewing what I'd call the best smartphone of 2015, the Nexus 6P. Let's get started. You gotta give it to Huawei on the design of the Nexus 6P. It's awesome, and I do not say that for every smartphone I come across. For starters, it's the first aluminum Nexus and is implemented very well. They really made every single detail count. For instance, just so you do not get the power button mixed up with the volume button, they made the buttons a different texture. The P in Nexus 6P stands for premium, and that's what you get, a very premium experience with this smartphone. They really put all the God in the smartphone, including a very big battery. This phone packs a massive 3,450 mAh battery, which can last a day and a half. When I tested this phone on school days, it worked like a champ, but that's because it was in my pocket most of the time. However, when I used it on weekends, it was pretty good. I get at least one day, but I did not expect another. I think this is amazing, considering the fact that many phones in 2015 were not up to par when it came to battery life. And if you're a very heavy user, do not worry, this phone charges very fast with a USB-C cable. USB-C is reversible, and that's very convenient, but they're not cheap cables by any means. If you're gonna buy one for $5, it'll probably burn the cable and mess with your phone. That's why you have to be very aware of the third-party cables you get for the Nexus. Even the 1+2 cable is not good, according to Benson Lewing from Google. I think a cable over $12 should be fine. Cameras on Nexuses have never been good, but this year they really nailed it with the optics. It uses a Sony sensor used in camcorders with laser autofocus. This camera is missing OIS or optical image stabilization. This feature is used to make your videos or even photos less shaky. It's an important feature but does not hurt the camera much. In fact, I could hardly notice it was not there in photos, except in low light. In low light, the camera has some trouble picking up detail. However, when it comes to videos, they're not too bad. It gets in focus pretty fast with laser autofocus, but it's still shaky. This phone can take 4K video, but that's not that big of a deal because every smartphone can take that nowadays. This camera really could have benefited from OIS, but I do not mind because it can really compete with the iPhone and Samsung really well. The app to take photos is the biggest shortcoming of the phone in my opinion. It really reminds me of the iPhone app in the way that it does it all for you. I'd really want to see raw functionality from this camera, but at least you can get the capabilities with the third-party camera apps. The front-facing selfie camera is an amazing 8-megapixel shooter. I could see myself taking some amazing spectacular selfies with this one. So the top back of this phone protrudes a little. It's so seamless though that I did not even notice it. It actually helped me know what side was up on the smartphone, especially since it's a phablet. Speaking of phablets, yes, this is one. It is rocking a 5.7-inch 1440 AMOLED display with a PPI of 515. AMOLED displays tend to have very deep blacks and extremely saturated colors, and this phone is no different. This phone has one of the best displays ever on smartphone, and honestly, you can get the best media performance from this phone. This phone also has dual front-firing stereo speakers, and they're amazing. This is a very rare thing, and you do not see this in phones these days. Together with this amazing display and speakers, you can watch Netflix and YouTube with the best experience ever. The only problem with these speakers are they're very big, so dust and other undesirable stuff find their way into your phone. You can take a needle and try to clean it, but honestly, if they were not so big and deep, this would not be a problem. This problem does not affect the sound quality though. When it comes to call quality, it is pretty good. In quiet places, I could hear the person really well, and the person on the other end said they could hear me just fine. However, when you make it noisy, it is really hard to hear the other person, which is annoying but typical from phones sometimes. When it's noisy, it does a great job of isolating the noise according to the person on the other side though, which is good. This phone is running stock Android out of the box, and that's what makes it special. This phone was the first to run Android M, and even many companies have not adopted the new features. Some of the new features include Doze, which is amazing. Doze basically turns many of the stuff in your smartphone off when it's left alone for a certain amount of time. This feature can really save you a lot of battery life in the long run. One day, I did not even touch my phone and it went from 100 to 98%. As soon as I clicked the power button though, every notification hit the phone. That's because it really just got up from its doze or sleep. Google Now on Tap is another feature that is basically a gimmick. This feature basically scans any screen on your phone when you hold down the home button. Then it finds keywords which it thinks you might want to know more about. I honestly never use this feature, but it's there if you want to use it. One feature I use every day on the Nexus 6P is the fingerprint scanner. It is the first time Google has implemented fingerprint functionality in its software, and I've got to say, it's really fast. The fingerprint scanner is on the back, and the placement is perfect for your index finger, especially when you're taking the phone out of your pocket. The only downside is if you put your phone on a table, you have to pick it up to unlock it or just put the password in. One more interesting thing that changed from Android M is the fact that you get software updates with bug fixes every month. So basically, if there's a flaw with Android, they'll have it fixed before any other phone. App permissions was another thing that was done more securely. Now when the app needs that permission, it'll ask you to accept it or decline it. This is better than Google giving the app all the permission it asks for. Other than that, nothing really drastically changed except for some refinements here and there from Lollipop. Overall, the operating system is amazing and the only thing that's missing is split screen, which could really help me take advantage of that humongous display. The Android N developer preview was released 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it had split screen multitasking in it and it was implemented very well. I'm really looking forward to seeing that in this phone in November when it's released for the public. This phone also has extremely smooth performance on the Qualcomm A10 version 2.2 chip with the Adreno 430 GPU and 3 gigs of LPDDR4 RAM. The only time that this phone ran choppy is when I started the phone up for the first time. It was downloading 300 some apps, but after that the phone was really fast and reliable. There was some skepticism that the Qualcomm Snapdragon 810 got extremely hot, and it'd be a concern with the metal phone. But seriously, this phone never got too hot, and the metal was pretty cold to the touch. When it comes to durability, this phone is pretty good. It has Gorilla Glass 4, which is amazing because it's very hard to scratch or crack. The thing is, being a metal phone is never fun because, well, metal always finds a way to get scratched or dented. I say the best solution to this is buying a small case or buying a skin. I'll link some down in the description below. Also, I did not see any YouTube videos of the Nexus 6P in water, so I do not think it's waterproof and I'm not testing it on my smartphone. But when I came across videos of the Nexus 6P bending, I came across this.
Apply a little bit of pressure and yikes. I am being completely serious when I say my little sister could have bent this phone in half with her hands. The Nexus 6P is a joke, hands down.
Yeah. But then I saw what he did before it, which was he burnt the phone, and that basically helped lose the integrity of the phone, which is horrible. I watched some more videos where the phone had no problems. The Nexus 6P comes in 3 different prices. $500 plus tax for the base 32GB model, $550 plus tax for the 64GB model, and $650 plus tax for the 128GB model. There's no expandable storage, so make the right decision for yourself. I'm really happy they did not have a 16GB model option. I mean, from today's standards, you really cannot work with 16GB. Ahem, Apple. You have 4 different color choices to choose from too. Graphite, which is black, Frost, which is white, Aluminum, which is gray, and the newly released Matte Gold, which is thankfully not rose gold. Apple. I get black because it really helps the black glass at the top of the phone blend in with the entirety of the phone. If you happen to buy the Nexus 6P, you'll get the phone and much more in the box. I'll link my unboxing and first impressions in the description below or in the corner of your screen up here. Now here comes the big question. Who is the Nexus 6P for? I think the Nexus 6P is for a person who wants an all-rounder great smartphone. Here's why. This phone has an amazing camera which you cannot go wrong with, decent battery life, a gorgeous display, dual front firing stereo speakers, a great build of aluminum, a fast fingerprint scanner, great performance, and a very decent price. I mean, this phone sounds so good, it might become my daily driver for the next 2, maybe 3 years. Well, that's it guys, I hope you enjoyed. Comment down below, are you gonna buy the Nexus XP? Because I would. It's so good. Have a good one.